All right, guys, I want to give you a helpful tip about learning how to use a sewing machine. Okay. When it comes to getting to know your sewing machine and learning what the different parts do, okay, what I want to tell you guys is that take your time learning the different parts of your sewing machine and learning what the different parts of the sewing machine do. Okay. You will at some point confuse the different parts of the sewing machine, and you'll probably think one part does something that it doesn't. And it's okay, it's a part of the learning process. Okay. You don't have to rush through learning your sewing machine and what the parts do. It's a good idea to take your time, find out what each of the individual parts do. It's okay if you don't know what parts in your sewing machine do. Look up YouTube videos about your sewing machine and have other people kind of point out what the things do so you can get acquainted with it. It's completely okay. You don't have to learn how to use your sewing machine overnight or anything. Take your time. If it takes you, a week, a month, a few months to learn your sewing machine, that's okay. One other helpful tip or something you could do to learn your sewing machine is take a class where you're going to learn about the different parts of a sewing machine. Now, it may not be the sewing machine that you're going to buy per se, but it'll give you some kind of idea of what different parts on a sewing machine can look like. So when you buy a sewing machine, then you can identify those parts, okay? So parts across sewing machines can look similar, okay? They can, but you want to make sure that you just take your time learning the parts of your sewing machine, knowing how many parts your sewing machine has, and what these individual things do. You don't have to rush yourself. You don't have to sprint through the journey of learning your sewing machine. There are some people on YouTube videos who may have been working with sewing machines and sewing and everything, and they'll probably tell you, oh, it's pretty simple to learn your sewing machine. It's pretty quick and easy. No. Guys, if you're a beginner like myself, it's going to take you some time to get acquainted with your sewing machine. And that's going to mean that you're going to have to take some time. You're going to have to sit down, with your sewing machine, meaning you're going to have to take your sewing machine out of the box. You're going to have to take the tape off of it, take the cardboard off of it. You're going to have to open up your operations manual for your sewing machine. And you're going to have to learn about your sewing machine, learn about the safety rules of using it. And you're also going to have to learn about the parts, okay? So don't rush yourself as far as using a sewing machine is concerned. I know you guys are excited. There's probably some really cool things you want to sew and you want to make and you want to be able to wear. And that's completely fine. You may want to make, gifts for people, using your sewing machine. That's awesome. But you have to learn the basics first. You have to learn the foundation first. And one of the foundations you want to learn is you want to learn the parts of your sewing machine. You want to learn what those parts do. You also want to learn about the safety rules when it comes to your sewing machine. And in your manual, they'll typically tell you, what you should and shouldn't do with your sewing machine. They'll tell you how to handle it. Okay. I know it can seem boring to have, to read through the safety stuff, but it's a good idea to know so that you can keep your sewing machine operating, because sewing machines, yeah, you can get a cheap one, but what if you spent over $100 for your sewing machine like I did? Okay. If you spend over $100, okay, and it's expensive to you, you want to take care of your sewing machine. You want to have it for a long period of time. Okay. And so to do that, it starts by learning the foundational things, learning the safety rules as far as your sewing machine is concerned, learning the parts of your sewing machine, and then learning what those parts do. And you don't have to learn the parts super fast. No, learn a couple of parts of your sewing machine day by day. And then eventually you'll learn all the parts of your sewing machine and then you'll learn what they do. Okay. And when I'm talking about learning the parts of your sewing machine, those parts may not necessarily be the accessories. So they may not necessarily be the sewing machine feet that comes with your machine. There may be other accessories that comes with it. Okay. So I just want to give you guys a few tips here that's helping me so far. And I know it can be overwhelming with the safety rules and stuff. and with the parts, but just take your time. Don't rush. Give yourself a chance so that you can actually get familiar and acquainted with your sewing machine so that you learn what you're doing, okay? So you don't have to sprint through using your sewing machine, right? You don't have to rush. Take your time. Day by day, learn it. Or every few days when you get a little bit of time, right? Take your time to get acquainted with it. The time you have, do what you can, so eventually when it comes to using your sewing machine, you know, you can become an expert, and nobody becomes an expert overnight. It takes a little bit of time each day to get familiar with the sewing machine and then using it. And you guys have to know too, there's a lot more that goes into sewing than just the sewing machine. Okay. There's a lot more that goes into it, that more than I knew. And you can learn a lot about the other things associated with sewing by actually watching beginner videos, as far as like tips you need to know before you start sewing and things like that. So that's some of the things you can do. I've watched some videos. I can link you guys to those, but I just wanted to share these tips for you guys as far as getting to know your sewing machine is concerned. Remember, be patient with yourself as you learn how to use your sewing machine. Okay? Learn the parts, learn the safety rules, right? Learn what the parts do. Take your time. Don't rush. Give yourself a chance to learn a little bit day by day or every few days, and eventually you'll become an expert at sewing in no time, especially with using your sewing machine. Thanks for watching.